discussion. As far as I am aware, there's no vote on this, but we are able to provide feedback. So we'll start down here. Any discussion, comments, questions? Yeah, Commissioner Brown.
I just want to thank the RTC staff and the project development team. This is, many people have spoken to the need for coordination among different agencies and, the complexity of this. And so I want to say that the project development team, comprised of all of our local jurisdictions and, and representatives of the RTC, have done a really phenomenal job of pulling together a very concise, what's the term? I can't remember the official term of what this document is. Project needs. Thank you. Sorry, there's different terms for everyone, but it's really it reflects. It's very clear. It resonates, at least for me and with the constituents I speak with, about what the needs are, and it reflects an ability to come together. To kind of deal with that complexity in a way that will help elicit public, I hope, elicit public engagement about how we move forward, not whether or not we are going to move forward. Every time this comes to our agenda, we have that conversation. And what I'm really looking forward to seeing, and was so pleased to see today in the slides and also in the document, we have a timeline now. We have, people who are working together who are going to move this forward. We will come back and have the ability to make decisions as Commissioner Johnson, alternate Johnson, suggested, based on some real information. So I just wanted to say thank you, because you all have been very patient in with your piece of this, and so I'll leave it there. There's so many things I would say about what we've done and where we're headed. I'm not interested in relitigating the question. I'm interested in getting us to a plan. So thanks so much for all of your work and leadership at the staff level.
Thank you. Commissioner Schifrin?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how the need is going to be determined in the study. Normally, it's population projections that are taken from AMBAG. One of the realities that local governments are facing now are demands by the state to provide lots and lots of housing units. And there are differences between the population projections and the number of housing units that the jurisdictions that are along the corridor are going to be expected to achieve over the next 8 years. So I would hope that the analysis of the need for the passenger rail service would also look at what the potential impacts of the state requirements for additional housing are. They're going to lead to additional traffic. They're going to, since parking requirements have been reduced significantly, they could potentially lead to greater ridership. I just think that to the extent that anybody besides the governor takes, and some of the legislators take these housing numbers seriously, they need to be incorporated into the thinking about transportation, because as we've heard over and over again today, the corridor is now, the highway is now being used very extensively, and if these housing projections come to pass, they're going to be used a whole lot more extensively, and that could affect the need for alternatives, such as what's being considered here.
Thank you. Commissioner Randy Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, thanks for everybody speaking. Thanks for staff for doing what I consider a job that under pretty difficult circumstances, with how sometimes there's splits in the direction of the RTC. I think I heard some encouraging things today. Commissioner Rockin, I want to thank you for acknowledging that, we're going to be open on this. We're going to listen to facts. We're going to make a determination that is based on what's best and what's reasonable and what's factual. And what we heard today on this project, and I want to thank Riley for giving a good presentation, was a little bit nebulous, I think, because we just don't have all the information. What's the ridership going to be? And sometimes that's going to determine how feasible something really is and how realistic is it. The other bit of information, Commissioner Koenig, thank you for sharing how people think, and he mentioned fastest, cheapest, convenience. And that was validated by today. I mean, I think it was Aurelio that mentioned, I hope somebody rode their bike today. Well, nobody did they? And if you lived in Scotts Valley this morning and you looked at the time for me to get to here, it was 28 minutes, but if I took the bus and it gave me 3 routes, it was 1 hour and 49 minutes. I made that consideration. I thought about it. I decided to drive my car instead of take the bus. The question becomes, is the whole metro scenario that we live through, a much needed agency in our community, is it a cautionary tale? I mean, people here had the opportunity to take metro today, but they didn't for the reasons probably Commissioner Koenig mentioned. Now, what happens when a passenger rail happens at a great expense, and all of a sudden the same sort of ridership situation exists, okay? When you've invested, and again, we don't have enough detail, when you've invested a lot of money, $500 million, maybe $1 billion, I don't know what the number is. That's where we need more facts. Now it becomes too big to fail, right? And we keep putting more and more and more and more money into it because we have to, right? So, when I think about any sort of feasibility, and people kind of poo-poo the whole idea of self-interest and so forth, what do you think the taxpayers do? I'm just looking at this round of tax measures that's coming before us in March. Live Oak Elementary bond, Pacific Elementary School District bond, Pacific Elementary bond, County of Santa Cruz sales and tax use, City of Santa Cruz sales and tax. And one that's very important, and one that would have been appreciated by my parents who lived in Watsonville for 15 years, was how do you benefit the community, Watsonville Community Hospital? Well, Pajaro Valley Health District is proposing a $116 million bond. So things like this, rail, is in competition with a lot of different entities. It could be school districts, it could be the county, it could be various cities, and they're going to make hard-nosed decisions based on their personal belief whether or not this measure, which has to come before the voters, is actually worth it. So do we think of things like self-interest? Yeah, I represent a city of Scotts Valley. If you look at the original Measure D, they had a little, I guess, image. And on Measure D, there was no train. There was a car, a bicycle, somebody pushing a stroller, somebody running, and somebody carrying a surfboard, okay? So sometimes and what happens is that we try and attribute that the pass or the defeat of the last Measure D was somehow a way of saying, no, everybody wants a train. That's not quite true. That's an interpretation, but it's not really true. So I'm more than willing to accept this and move forward. And to me, it's worth the millions of dollars that we're going to spend here to root out whether or not this makes sense. But I can assure you that the taxpayers of this county, once it starts coming forward like anything else, will pay particular attention to how much it's costing them and how it benefits them. So I would never discount that kind of arrangements in the taxpayers and the citizens of this county's mind. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Rotkin.
Well, this meeting runs on forever and will run on longer for my comments. I'll make them very brief. We have to look not to what's going on right now, but as some people in the audience said earlier, to the future. So just to go pointedly at Randy on this, the decision you made today about driving on the road versus taking the bus, it's a smart decision. I mean, you know, I made a decision to get a carpool ride down here and stuff rather than taking the bus. But does anybody in this room think that given the growth plans for this county, that 10 years from now that the same ratio is going to exist between how long it takes to drive your car on Highway 1 and a train that's not in traffic? We have to be planning for the future, and that's what this is about. I stand by my earlier comments. The train may not be the way to go. It may turn out to be too expensive and so forth. But there's probably not a person in this county who wouldn't kill for a 5% tax that would get them from Santa Cruz to Watsonville faster than what's happening now. And more importantly, what will that question look like in the future? You won't have that same ratio. It'll be quicker to take public transit, and it'll be certainly quicker to take an alternative public transit that's not in traffic.
Thank you. Commissioner Peterson.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. When the public is deciding which transportation mode to utilize and weighing those options, there are 3 categories mentioned, but I don't think those are fair comparisons to a train because, as one of the commenters here today said, a train is a unique means of travel where it is an enjoyable experience where you can get work done, where you can talk and relax. It is almost like gaining that commute time back into usable time, where none of the other options presented offer that same means. So I think that's just going to be really important to everybody, including myself, to take into consideration that it's not just speed or convenience, but it's quality of the time being spent. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will just make some brief comments so that we can move on with today's agenda. And I want to share this information because I am hearing a lot of concerns about what we don't know, and those are legitimate concerns, what isn't included. But I think I want to point out a reminder that this document, this project purpose and need statement is not meant to contain all of our answers. But the project concept report is meant to answer quite a lot of our questions. And so as a reminder, from the agenda report, when we approved the project concept report, the entire report that we're expecting in winter 24, this coming winter, early 2025, is designed to include definition and purpose of need statement, which we're starting with today. This is just the beginning. Analysis of rail transit vehicle technology and performance requirements, ridership and revenue forecasts, evaluation of existing infrastructure, environmental screening, geotechnical review, safety assessment, development of the rail and trail alignment, station layover and maintenance facilities, operation modeling and equipment plan, cost estimates for both capital and operations/maintenance, and risk analysis for the process. And staff can keep me honest if any of that has changed. So we do have answers forthcoming. I know that we want all the answers right now, and anytime we see any portion of the project concept report, we think, well, why isn't answering all our questions? Well, this is just the beginning. We're just getting started, so there's lots of information yet to come. All right, I appreciate everyone who provided public comment today, and the commissioners for their comments as well. Yesenia?
I'm sorry, Chair Brown. We have Commissioner Gittleson, who is now sitting in for Commissioner Fernandez, who has her hand raised.
Oh, okay, sure. Commission Alternate Gittleson, do you have a comment?
I do.
There we
Hi,
go.
I'm Judy Gittleson. I am away on a family emergency. I'm acting as Felipe's alternate. And as a Watsonville resident, I just want to say the support is there, obviously today, or by the number of people that voted to retain the tracks as well. Thank you, Riley, for a great presentation. And I want to encourage us to expedite this passenger rail we kind of have to put it in to prove the ridership almost and change the mindset of people. Once it becomes a dedicated rail line that is there, it will be much more used. It's so reliable to have it not beholden to traffic. And as so many people said, the population is tremendously growing, and we can't anticipate how that's going to impact the highway and transportation. But I just think it's a really great opportunity, and I appreciate everyone's support that spoke in favor of it today, and I hope we can realize this more rapidly than the timeline. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right, thank you again to the members of the public that spoke today and for the commissioners for this discussion. We'll move on now to item 28.